Welcome to my top 25 albums of 2024. Now, it's that year again, end of the year list, top albums, top songs are coming out here. And here we go. We're going to start off with 3 honorable mentions right away just to get it out of the way. Just because these are albums that either just came out or I just heard and they kind of just didn't make it or were very, very close. Twister's soundtrack, that was a banger. I loved it. Loved the movie too. And just the whole, 30 songs, that dirt grit that they got going on. I love it, I love it. Same with Was Here by Stand Atlantic, one of their best albums today. I really was not expecting how good the album was from the singles. I was not a fan of a couple of the singles here and there, but the album turned out amazing, like always. And then Lana, SZA. It would have been on here if it didn't come out, 3 days ago. But it's a banger album. I love it. Love the Kendrick song specifically as a banger on me over here. And yeah, I love it. Love it. 25, kicking off the list, Posthuman Next Gen by Bring Me the Horizon. Now, this album is definitely another one that I just did not expect. I was from the singles like Lost, Die For You, and there was another one that I just can't remember off the top of my head. But there was some of the singles were very misleading and how long it took them to make the album. I was very skeptical on going into this one, but I loved it. I did love the album. Bring Me the Horizon kind of brings in that old school Bring Me the Horizon vibe mixed in with that newer, generation kind of mixing going on. And I definitely loved Euphoria, Limousine with Aura. A bunch of those songs were just amazing, and I definitely loved it. At 24, The Torture Post Department Side 2. So everything from The Black Dog to The Manuscript. That whole section, part of the anthology, was amazing. For some reason, the first side sucked, but she saved all the best written songs and produced songs on the second half and surprised us all and said, hey, I got a really, really, really banger album right here. But I didn't release it because I wanted to release my bad album first. I don't get it. 23, Bando Stone in the New World, Childish Gambino. Now, I love this album. 22, From Zero by Linkin Park. Now, I was not expecting anything from Linkin Park this year. We got the Greatest Hits album. That was it. I'm like, okay, cool. But then they said, oh, we got Emily here. And I'm like, okay. And I heard Empty Machine, and I fell in love right away. Heavy is the Crowd, one of the best songs of the year. And then their third single, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was all right. It was okay. It wasn't the best thing. But I did do a reaction video on this album, so you can go check that out too. But this album was amazing. I definitely loved it. Definitely had more of a newer Linkin Park sound that they're kind of going into, a new era, with Emily Armstrong. And they have that older sound, Heavy is the Crown or Cut the Bridge, songs like that where you have that older Linkin Park coming in, and I love it. It's really good. It's a good one. At 21, Alligator Bites Never Heal. Now, I didn't listen to this when it came out because I just didn't know really who Doechii was, but she got a lot of praise, and everybody was loving it. I heard a couple of her songs, like Nissan Altima, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll check it out. And I fell in love instantly. I listened to it twice when I first heard it. And it's been about a month now since I've heard it the first time. And it's already made my 21. It's a banger album. Doechii really comes off with these R&B, hip-hop beats that I haven't heard. Some of these songs remind me of a Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick. And I love it. I love it. Heading into the top 20, Boy by Luke Hemmings. Who knew 7 songs could be so friggin' good? These 7 songs be his first album, and that's hard because that has 12 songs and it's really good. I love that album so much. And boy, some of the best freaking writings by Luke Hemmings here. And you just know Luke Hemmings is a great writer with his 5-star stuff in his last album, coming into Boy Now. Everything that he's done on these 7 songs, production-wise, lyrical, vocal, he just pulls out everything. Everything. And it's just amazing. At 19, Eminem's Death of Slim Shady Coup de Grace. This was actually shocking. When he first dropped Houdini, I was like, okay, old Eminem is back. Then he dropped Toby, and I was like, new Eminem is here. Okay, I'm not a fan. But we got the album. There are some songs in there that kind of have that new Eminem feel, and you're like, okay, well, that did not need to be in here. When you listen to the album in a full, you definitely get that older, Eminem Show encore. Even a little bit of the Marshall Mathers LP, Guilty Conscience 2 on there. And if you really listen to the album in a structure with the battle of Slim Shady and Eminem through it all, it is actually amazing. Eminem pulls out one of it, probably his best album since, I would say, like Relapse. Number 18, The Great American Bar Scene, Zach Bryan. Now, I'm not really liking Zach Bryan as a person, but his music has always hit me hard in a way, and this album does show it. This album first came out, I fell in love, obviously, already. Songs like Pink Skies, The Way Back, Better Days with John Mayer, guitar solo is so freaking good. Every song on this album just definitely hits a little harder, and that's why I love Zach Bryan's music. He always goes into depth and details of how he's feeling, struggling, and you can really connect with it. 17, A Whole New Sound by Disney and various artists. This was big, hits Disney songs turned into pop punk by, bands like Mayday Parade or Simple Plan, Bowling for Soup, etc. But every song was amazingly done. And me as a pop punk fan and a Disney fan, I instantly fell in love. This became one of my most repeated albums on for sure throughout the year. And I love what Disney did. They got really creative with this. They haven't really done something like this in a while. So I definitely fell in love with it first sight. And I love the Bowling for Soup's Friend Like Me. And I've never heard of Tokyo Hotel before. They put up a really great cover of Colors of the Wind. 16, The Secret of Us by Gracie Abrams. Gracie Abrams, I've never heard a record by her before. This album was amazing. I think that her vocal and the folky vibes always get me, like Phoebe Bridgers, Julian Baker, Boy Genius, Wallows, any indie stuff just hits me really hard if they really try to. And this album definitely came out on top for probably the best indie record of the year. Gracie Abrams just comes up with songs like Good Luck Charlie. Us with Taylor Swift's a good one too. There's just so many good songs off this, and she is amazing here. And into the top 15, everything I thought I was Justin Timberlake. Now, it's been forever since JT dropped an album, and I instantly fell in love with the first single, Selfish and Drown. Both of them were so bangers. I had them on repeat, and the album came out. I bought the vinyl right away, and I instantly fell in love with 19, 20 tracks, something like that. There's a lot of songs on here, but it doesn't even feel like it's that long. It feels like it's short because all the songs you just fall right in love to, Fucking Up the Disco is a banger there, or it goes softer into love, like Paradise with NSYNC. There's so many mixtures of JT's discography put in here and made more mainstream too, and I love it. And I can't wait to see him in February. 14, Radical Optimism, the extended version. So first of all, the regular version was amazing. I love this. Dua Lipa's banger. And then she drops the extended, and I love extended tracks, especially when you put it into what Dua Lipa did on Radical Optimism. It just makes the tracks even better. And I'm sitting here, I love a good instrumental as a producer. So putting the extended versions was amazing, Dua Lipa. Thank you. At 13, Blue Hour by Real Friends. This is such a deep cut. It's probably my favorite Real Friends album to date. But this is a smaller punk band that is really going into that punk mainstream, though. They definitely are getting up there, and this album just very hits hard. Songs like Amnesia and Deer in My Headlights and Waiting Room is probably one of the best songs of the year. It just really goes really deep and emotional. If you like hard punk, don't miss this one. 12, Heaven and Hell by Sum 41, their last record, and based off the single Landmines and then Waiting on a Twist of Fate, I was skeptical, but Rise Up, I instantly loved. I felt like that was definitely that old Sum 41. Falling into this album, we have 15 to 20, I don't even know. It's around 15, 16 tracks, I think I want to say. But it's split into two albums, Heaven and Hell, obviously. And every track I've come to love, even Dopamine. But, Over the Edge, House of Liars, even the Painted Black cover is really good. Radio Silence, there's so many bangers on here that really fit that newer Sum 41 with a bunch of that older stuff going on here. It's a mixture of everything that they've had into one album, kind of just put out in a playlist. of their whole discography, and I love it. Number 11, though, Fathers and Sons by Luke Combs. Now, first time I heard this record, I was crying. I had tears going down my face. Luke Combs pulls out such a sad, emotional record. And I haven't heard an emotional album, fully album by Luke Combs before. So, and everything that he does, talking about his sons and how he wants to be there for him, and how his father tried being there for him, but just couldn't be there all the time, and how he wished he had more time with him. And speaking about his parents' divorce, he really just speaks very emotionally and clear on this album. And I fell in love with it. So good. Heading into the top 10 is an album I did not expect to hit it, but it did because it grew on me so much from the first time I've heard it. Clancy by 21 Pilots. This album, every song I fell in love with. More recently, going back to this album in October when I saw them live. And just after that, everything else, like Routines in the Night, Oldie Station, Next Semester, Overcompensate. There's so many goddamn great songs. Paladin Stray is really good if you go into the lore. And Vignette is such a good song. He really shows Tyler Joseph going very emotional into a lot of these songs, telling more of his life than putting in trench lore, blurry face lore. But he really brings that emotional side. Just definitely think, why would it be called Clancy if it's more about Tyler's life than 21 Pilots lore? I don't know. But it was a great album. I've come to enjoy it a lot more now that, I've definitely come back to listen to it, and it's really good. Number 9, it's a cover album, Harley Quinn, Lady Gaga. Now, I know a lot of people didn't like the Joker 2 movie. I liked it. I thought it was one of the best movies of the year. Not a review of that. It's a review of the album, Harley Quinn. Lady Gaga dropped this before. It's a bunch of covers of the jazz songs that are from, the movie and, the standpoint. And it's such an amazing record. Lady Gaga pulls off that jazzy kind of vibe. I knew she could do that because she has those albums with Tony Bennett previously, a couple years ago. And I definitely fell in love with this record instantly. Everything she does just is so good. This Joker cover is so good. That's Life is so good. Her originals, Happy Mistake, is really good too. Just a banger album. At 8, we have Brett by Charlie XCX. It was a Brett summer, baby. And this album, Charlie XCX, really pulls out all the stops, going into that alternative, remix pop dance album. And I love it. Every single track, front to back, is a banger. Yeah, I just gotta say that. At 7, Chromacopia, Tyler, the Creator, dropping a surprise record out of freaking nowhere. He's like, okay, I'm dropping this album, tomorrow or something like that. And, dude, it's probably one of his best albums. I've heard it so much now. There's so much. He talks really more about his life, going into a personal side of Tyler, the Creator, that we haven't really seen before. More touches on Igor. He kind of touches into his personal life on Igor, stuff like that. But he doesn't really go this much in depth like Chromacopia does. Right now, as it stands, Call Me If You Get Lost is better. But Chromacopia is definitely getting up there. If we talk about the self-production, Tyler definitely... You can feel how he's getting older and he's trying new sounds. He's very experimenting, like St. Chroma and Noid and Thought I Was Dead. Songs like that. You can really hear the difference in production on this compared to Wolf or Flower Boy or Igor, It's definitely a different side for Tyler, but I love it, and I think everybody else agrees with me. At 6, Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet, a 30-minute album. 11 tracks, I think, something like that. I don't know, but so many bangers on here. Everything that you want in a Sabrina Carpenter pop record, you got. You got Espresso. You got Please, Please, Please. Slim Pickens is one of my personal favorites. Juno. You got so many bangers on here that you just can't feed away from. You even got some more emotional tracks there too, but it's a great record. I love it. At 5, Post Malone, F1 Trillion Limousine. Post Malone, whew, boy, did anybody think he could pull this country stuff off? Nobody did. And when he dropped I Had Some Help with Morgan Wallen, obviously I instantly fell in love with that track. Then his other singles they dropped, and everything, I was expecting something. I was like, okay, this is going to be one of the best albums of the year, maybe one of the best country albums of all time. He blew my expectations out of the roof and he said, you know what, I'm going to give you the best country album of all friggin' time right here. Here you go. There you go. And I instantly fell in love with this album. And then he came out with, 7 or 8 more tracks with a deluxe. And I just could not resist it. Everything that Post Malone did this year, and especially with this record, just amazing. At 4, though, Kendrick Lamar. GNX. Another surprise rapper coming out with this album. He really said, how can you be rapper of the year if you don't have an album? Kendrick drops GNX. God, this is his best album since Mr. Morale, in my opinion. I like Mr. Morale better, but this is definitely up there in his top 3, top 4. It's definitely one of his best records to date. So many bangers, and you got songs like The Heart Part 6, Luther, and Reincarnated that really hit hard. SZA's on 2 of these tracks, and Sure Voice are so good. You got weaker songs. I'm not really a fan of GNX, but I do like the West Coast side that he's adding, these West Coast rappers that he's trying to bring up, and they do got potential. You can definitely hear it in their voices on this track. But no song's bad. I would not skip any song. But 45 minutes for a Kendrick album is insane. He did it. The greatest rapper of all time. But at 3, these top 3s were very hard to pick between these 3. But at number 3, I have to go Prelude to Ecstasy by The Last Dinner Party. They just came out of nowhere this year. I think this is their debut album, and it kind of blew up already kind of into the mainstream, Nothing Matters and Sinner. And every song for this record hits so hard and emotionally to me. And it's definitely an alternative rock album that you really have to dig into to hear what they're really saying. And they're pushing these instrumentals these violins and these with the orchestra instrumentals mixed with these drums and hard guitars that are really pushing right into your soul. And the vocals are so beautiful, and everything that they just put into this album was an amazing debut record. If you really want to think about Stick Season's another amazing record that was a debut album for Noah Kahan. This one is very amazing. Go check it out if you haven't listened to this one. Last Dinner Party, Prelude to Ecstasy, Stab Me in the Heart. Talking about Stab You in the Heart, so did Shawn freaking Mendes. Now, he had to push this album back a month because people thought Taylor Swift was going to drop an album, so Shawn Mendes didn't want to compete with her. But that's fine by me because this album hit right at the perfect time. I was going through something emotionally back in November, and this album just definitely hit really hard. Shawn Mendes comes in with 10 tracks, 30 minutes, but it's one of the freaking albums of the freaking year competitors. Every song is so deep and personal, and I like how he took his time with this record from 2020's Wonder, which was one of my favorite records of all time. This one could definitely beat it. Who knows? Give it time, obviously. But he really took his time. He went, to go find himself, mentally and just find himself, clearly. And he definitely, pursues all of his emotions on this album. And it definitely hits hard for Shawn. It hits hard for me. I don't think I've ever related to Shawn Mendes in a way that I have. And this was so good. And number 1, Green Day, Saviors. And I'm not talking about just because it's Green Day. I'm talking about not because they're just my favorite band. It's because it's the best damn record since 21st Century Breakdown. It's been over 10 years since they've made an actual, really great album. I loved Revolution Radio, but Father of All and the trilogy was kind of meh. This album is definitely their comeback into bringing, the sound. It's the sounds of Dookie mixed in with the lyrics of American Idiot. And it's just literally their 2 best records mixed together. And you got songs no, Hey Look Ma, No Brains. It really goes off something from Dookie, Kurt Plung. And then you got The American Dream Is Killing Me from American Idiot vibes. Coma City's in there. They're very deep songs. Father to a Son, Billy Joe. I don't think he's had a very emotional track like this since Wake Me Up When September Ends. And you have Goodnight Adeline and Dilemma, which are about battling addiction, which Billy did. He really goes personal on this record. You can definitely feel it. And it's just an amazing album, front to back, all 15 tracks. It's one of their best. Thanks for watching. Those were my top 25 albums of 2024. If there's any albums I missed or any albums I've never heard that came out this year that you love, go put them in the comments. Maybe I'll check them out. Thanks for watching, guys.